What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how you guys can get out of breaks faster. So today we're going to be talking about snapping down, how you guys can accelerate out of this rocker step or this double move, and then how you guys can run a faster double move route like a sluggo, okay? So those are going to be the three examples that we're going to be looking at here, and I hope this video gives you guys some value if you want to get better at the top of the route. That's what we're going to be focused on. And guys, if you're a receiver and you want to get better at your press releases, you want 20 different releases that you guys can use with specific drills and game situation scenarios of when to use those releases. Check out that very first link in the description. It says 20 press releases. We give you 20 different releases you guys can use, how to build those releases off of each other, and specific drills to work those releases. It's a 45-minute long video. Very first link in the description. Let's get started. So here's the things. With this break right here by Jeudy, right? Obviously, he knows he's a great route runner. Very talented guy, very explosive guy. But we're going to be talking about how any receiver can really do the technique at the top. Maybe not as well, but this is something that you could definitely be taught. So let's watch this thing full speed one more time. So we're going to be looking at it here. You see how well he's able to sell vertical. And selling vertical is part of what gets you out of breaks faster, right? Because the thing that a lot of people don't trust is their hips, right? So that's what we got to focus on here. Anytime I'm dropping into a break, anytime I'm coming out of anything, I got to be able to trust my hips and use my hips to get me out. When it has to do with a stop route where you're snapping down, maybe a comeback where you snap off and accelerate out, or a curl route, right? Even against zone coverage, right? This specifically is a man coverage example, but against zone coverage, it's the exact same thing. When you guys get into a break, you want to be able to stay in stride, right? You see how Jeudy doesn't chop his steps? Going into this, he even throws that hand up to sell vertical. He's in a great pad level position because when you guys can stay in that vertical, sell position, right? I'm selling fade, I'm selling vertical, my chest stays down, I'm in stride right here. That gets you into a break, and that'll get your hit. That gets you fast into a break, and you can if you use your hips properly, that's what creates explosion, right? But everybody who likes to chop down and slow their speed right before they get to a break, that doesn't allow you to create as much energy at the top of this thing, right? So you see how he's able to stay in stride, and he snaps right in stride, right? Now, the thing about it is your hips want to be violent. That's the only way that I'm able to change direction. So many guys teach the milk the cow or beat the drum. You know, I call it milk the cow, but the more commonly known phrase is beat the drum, right? Where you chop your feet into a break. That's slow, and a good DB is going to be able to react on that, right? DB's so hard because they don't know what we're doing at any given time, right? And they're looking for indicators. And a bad route runner is somebody who gives big indicators, like they slow down, they pick their chest up. But a good route runner is somebody who stays in a good pad level and uses their hips to decelerate them. So when it comes to getting out of breaks faster, it's about being violent with your hips. How aggressive can I be with my hips to snap me down? And now, to be able to be in an explosive position to propel you out of the break or to just cruise on a dime, you got to be able to get your chest down. You got to be able to get your chin to your knee. So you see how when Jeudy snaps, it's not like he's just bending at his waist. He's dropping his hips, but he's also bringing his chin to his knee. That's the key, because now you're in an explosive position. It's like you're dropping an anchor when you're in a ship and you drop an anchor and it hits a rock. Everything comes to a screeching halt, right? That's what we want to think of as my hips, right? But now the thing about your feet too as well is that you see how when Jeudy does this, he's never really on his heels, right? He's in the middle of his foot, that inside arch of his foot, because that's where you guys are going to create energy with those steps, and those steps can be powerful. That's the mistake a lot of people like to make. A lot of people work those drills where you run and you snap it off and you chop after that and you break down, but your steps are super choppy. If you can be violent with your hips, powerful with your steps, that's what will decelerate you, but at the same time, it will allow you to create energy, and you could create separation from this DB, because when you're able to snap on a dime, everybody talks about that, but why is that important? That's important because the DB doesn't have time to react when you cut on a dime. If you give no indicator with your pad level, you stay in stride, you use your hips to slow you down. It's like a hips that just drops you in stride. That doesn't allow him any time to react on this ball, and you could accelerate out of this thing, okay? So that's what Jeudy does a great job of right here. That's something that we can all build off of, okay? Obviously, we may not be as smooth as this guy, but we can certainly be a lot better of a route runner if you start trusting your hips, you start snapping in stride, and you're focused on creating energy at the top of the route. Let's watch this thing again full speed one more time. So he's pushing vertical here. Got to stay in stride, keep a good pad level, make sure I sell, and those hips got to be violent to make sure that you're able to decelerate. And if that were a comeback, the position that he's in, you drop your hips aggressively, that allows you to push and create energy and accelerate out of this cut. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on next here. So we're going to be looking at this rocker step from Adam Thielen here. And now we're going to be talking about, again, this is a zone coverage look with outside shade, and he's running an out route. This play is designed, with this defense, is designed to take away this, right? He does a great job selling this rocker step, which gets this guy to bite a little bit. But we're going to be talking about how his acceleration out of the break is what gets him open, and that comes from the energy that he creates at the top of the route, right? Because there's three phases to every route. You got the stem, you got the break at the top, right? That's the energy creation, and then you got the acceleration out of there, right? So I got to make sure that all three phases are correct. Phase one, I'm selling vertical. vertical. Phase 2, I'm creating energy at the top of the route. Phase 3, I'm accelerating. That energy ties right into that acceleration. So you see when he throws this rocker step here, this goes for any singular speed cut. You see how his toes remain forward. Now the thing about this is not something he's thinking about right now in game, and this is probably not something you're going to be able to think about in practice when you go live reps, but it's something that you can certainly think about when you're working drill work, you're working regular just routes versus air work. 100% something you can think about, right? So you see how he's able to keep his toes forward and the weight stays on the inside part of his foot. When you guys can keep that weight on the inside part of your foot here, that's where you create that explosion. You almost want to think of it like a pitcher in baseball, right? They're coming off of a mound, they're about to pitch, they're pushing off of where? That inside arch off of that rubber, because that's how they get that explosion going straight down to that catcher, right? So same thing. You guys want to sell with your upper half on this cut, but you want to keep that weight, and you see on both cuts, the weight's on the inside part of his foot because that push off that inside arch creates explosion. Now the reason why I'm saying don't open up that toe is because when you open up that toe, that opens up your hips, and then it's a long path to get back on this 90. But if you could keep that weight on the inside arch of your foot, you keep those feet sudden, you don't drag your back foot, you can push out of there, and that push creates that, or uses that explosion that you did from running full speed, from being sudden with your feet. That push uses that explosion and turns it into acceleration. Now, if you do all of that right, you can still lose on the route. And how you're able to lose on the route is if I create that explosion and then I just cruise. I just take it for granted, right? So when you get to this position, you get this DB off balance. You get him to lean a little bit on this 1-2 or any kind of double move or any kind of just heavy indicator cut. You got to use that explosion with your lower half and turn it into speed with your upper half. So your arms got to work and drive you out of there. You shouldn't be turning that shoulder slowly. You should be ripping those elbows like you got to elbow somebody behind you. Like he's here, and you see how his right one rips around because he's almost acting like he's going to elbow somebody behind him, because that brings your hips down this pathway. And when you can rip those arms and you rip from those shoulders, much like how you would run a normal just a sprint, like you'd be running a 40, you're not bending at your elbows, right? You're swinging from your shoulders and you keep your arms at 90. That brings your hips out of there, but it also gives you control. And it also helps with acceleration. You create that energy at the top. You work to run with those arms, but you swing from those shoulders. That gets your hips down the right path. That gives you more speed, and it brings you to balance so you can make a much crisper break, right? That's how you can get out of that break off a rocker step or off of just a single one speed cut a little bit faster. Let's watch this thing full speed again one more time. So great job by Thielen, keeping the weight on the inside arch for explosion, using those arms to accelerate him out, and pushing off of that leg. So now we're going to be looking at this sluggo route here. We're going to be talking about how you guys can win on a double move route and when you get some separation initially, right? So we see when he breaks here, we're not going to be focused on selling the route too much, right? Because this applies for an out and up. This applies for post corner, corner post, when it's man coverage. I want to stress that a lot. But again, against zone a little bit, but if you're working like maybe like a post corner against zone coverage, like a zone coverage safety, right? There's like a 2-high safety and you're from the slot and you're working a post corner. This doesn't necessarily apply. So I would say this is more like on a hitch and go, or like a comeback and go, stop and go, whichever it may be, a sluggo. That's when you want to work this, or an out and up, right? But not on so much a post corner or corner post. That's my fault. So when we break here and we take those 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, and he breaks off of that leg. When we get some separation here, anybody can get separation on a double move. I want you guys to know that. They run double moves for a reason, because very easy route to get open on, especially when you got some off man coverage, right, where you got a little leeway to work and you can really be a salesman with this route. But how you create that separation, how you get out of this break faster, is the same thing as that regular cut. We push off of that leg, we make sure that I'm explosive with that cut, and that cut's got to be sudden, because when that cut's sudden, it gives you a little bit more explosion, and you can actually really, it allows you to push out of there, right? When you push out of there, the thing about widening the distance and how you can get out of this break faster is you want to keep your head down and pump those arms. You don't want to look till that ball's in the air, right? This is something that you probably won't learn until you're in college, where you want to keep your head down, widen the distance from this DB, then I'm looking for that ball, because the quarterback's going to put it with air, he's going to put it on a spot, and we got to make sure that we're ready for it. Now, it's a different scenario when it's zone coverage, right? When they maybe have safety help over the top, or maybe that this DB's just come like a post corner. That's why I said on a post corner, we don't always want to do this on every double move, because if there's a situation where the safety's coming over the top, I don't want to do this because then I'm not ready for the ball, right? But if I could keep my head down and pump those arms when it's man coverage, I got this guy to commit, he's already thinking, oh shit, I got to get on my horse, I got to drive my knees, I got to drive my arms, and I got to get back and make this play. So if I do the exact same thing and I focus on keeping my head down and widening the distance and not looking till I got this guy by about maybe 3 steps, obviously it gets to a certain point downfield where maybe you have to look and maybe expect the back shoulder. There's a gray area, obviously. But on this particular route, let's keep my head down, let's pump my arms and use that explosion from the cut like we were talking about to push myself out. My feet are sudden, I'm pushing up that inside arch, and and I keep my head down. Don't look back early because that will help you get out. That will make you get out of this break a little bit slower, okay? So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Watch the, again, full speed one more time. So again, 3 steps. Make sure I'm pushing off that leg. I keep my head down, and I drive out of there. Great job making that play as well. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're a receiver and you want to get better press releases, everything that you need to know off the line of scrimmage, take that or check out that link, very first link in the description. It says 20 press releases. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll see you guys next time.